Hey everybody, welcome back, and it's another beautiful weekend. Well, it's a little foggy outside. Anyway, so really at the end of the day, we're hearing a lot of information out there. One of them happens to be that, listings, homes that are for sale are on the rise, even though we're at a 24-month, lowest interest rates, even though they've kind of been edging up since the Fed dropped their rate. What? Let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about October stats and, or I guess technically September stats. And let's get the show on the road. Okay, so here's the funny thing. A lot of folks have been saying, George, Feds dropped the rate a half a point. What the heck is going on? And I laugh and I'm like, listen. The first thing that everybody needs to understand is that the Feds do not control long-term mortgage rates. Again, they only control what the Fed or what banks do on a day-to-day basis. Here's an example. You see a 30-year mortgage, just keep it super simple before we get into the statistics for real estate and what's going on, is this. Now, when we consider that mortgage rates go up and down every day because they are on the stock market. Watch your bonds, watch your mortgage-backed securities. That is what you see. It's a stock market. Stock market goes up and down multiple times a day. However, Fed rate only changes like once every 6 weeks when the Feds meet because they control your home equity line of credit, right? Again, short term. Your credit cards, hopefully very short term. Car interest rates, for loans if you're getting new loan, because again, short term, all right? Anything that is short term, that is what the Feds typically control. Commercial mortgages, even if it's a multifamily, 5 units or more, it's commercial space, lease space, business loans, that's all Fed controlled, all right? Long-term mortgage rates, they don't. So many times, and I tell folks this, that many times the Feds will drop rates, mortgage rates actually go up. And then in this circumstance, that's exactly what happened. And so it's not uncommon, and don't be surprised, even though we're still about 1.3% lower in rate today than what we were a year ago. And that's still great. And it's just funny how people are like, what's going on? That's what's going on. So again, situation normal. Don't worry about it. All right, so let's pop this up. Said listings are on the rise, even though mortgage rates hit a 24-month low. More sellers are putting their homes on the market as mortgage rates fall significantly for the first time in 2 years. Again, about 1.3% less year over year. Sellers have been hesitant, right, to list their homes out of fear of losing their super low rate. And one of the reasons that we are seeing a lot of that transition is because of family or, situational changes that are requiring that because of the many sellers that we chat with and a lot of our clients, the ones that still have the golden handcuffs, well, they're not really willing to let that go yet. And that means, the folks that have the rates between 2.6 and, 3.5-ish, unless there's a family dynamic or a housing dynamic, something that is happening within the family, they're not changing. The folks that are looking at making a change, it has now become very opportunistic. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't seen an increase in activity, because we have. And that's situation normal. But let's not preempt ourselves. Let's take a look at some of the headlines for the day. So when we pop this over, we can see consistently higher rates since the Fed's cut, right? So we already talked about that. You can see on the top right that and that is a ticker, right? You can see that's a ticker showing what the 30-year fixed rate mortgage is ticking at. And just the other day, it was at 6.26, roughly a little bit higher than I'd say about 5 to 10 basis points higher than what it was just a little bit earlier, meaning just a couple of days ago. Mortgage rates lowest since Feb 23. Remember, you do have a refinance calculator that is available for you, along with taking a look at, hey, what are multiple mortgage rates. There's no cost to that. It's free. Make sure you take a look at it. The link will be down below, along with some other really good information. It is free. There's no login. Feel free to take a look at it, and that is the goal, to help you guys. All right. So when we take a look at Freddie, so Freddie, as you can see, and as you can see from the chart, that, you know, even though we were heading in a downward trend, you see that little hiccup on the right-hand side. That's when the Feds, at the bottom point, that's when the Feds dropped a 0.5 point or 50 basis points or 0.5%. All the same, you can see that we ticked in an upward trend. Now, what's super important about this is a running 7-day average for Freddie Mac. And you might be saying, George, why do you always start with mortgage rates before you get into the market report? That is super simple. You see, we need to understand where mortgage rates are, because that is one of the key metrics as to whether a buyer is coming in or not. And as we head down into that key metric area, some of the metrics that you will see, we saw some significant activity with buyers coming back in. We didn't see all of the pent-up demand, but we did see a good volume of pent-up demand, as you're going to see, and even more recently over the 7-day average with the metrics for active, pending, and sold that we watch. So when we come back and we take a look at this, Freddie Mac is clearly showing that, listen, hey guys, you're still doing great year over year, but yeah, we went up just a little bit. Okay. Again, absolutely predicted. Watch the prior videos. You will see where we talked about it. Had they done only a quarter rate in drop, mortgage rates probably, even though they had already adjusted for there, they probably would have continued in a downward trend, just because major investors would have pulled back. However, they wanted to do a big drop. They did their one big drop. Does not mean that they're going to do another one anytime soon. Even though they get together every 6 weeks, realistically, probably not going to see much of a change until 2025. Just my humble opinion. They could. The problem is unemployment numbers really came back super, super positive. And you might say, hey, that's great. That's not great for mortgages, because then everybody pulled out of the bonds, went into the market, the industrial investors, and then mortgage rates started heading in an upward trend. And that is exactly part of what you were seeing. So I know it seems counterintuitive. Positive information, higher interest rates; negative information, better interest rates. All right, it's just the way it is many times. All right, moving on. Okay, so if we actually, let me get over to my next slide here. Let's take a little bit of a look at what we're seeing. So yes, we are seeing, again, market times still in a 4 to 5 days higher, and in some areas 6 days higher than other areas. But look at our volume. Let me blow this chart up for you. Look at our volume. So we had basically a little over 1,100 homes that came on market the last 7 days, and we had 1,400 homes that went off market, meaning it went pending. You know, the good news is sellers that had overpriced their home reduced. Now that number is actually kind of high. And it's quite a bit higher than what we would like to see. However, here's the funny thing. When you take a look at first impressions and the perception of a seller, many times there's a little bit of a mismatch. We see, because the first impression is price. It's not the pictures that they see, because a buyer's going to look at it. It's so funny. I have this conversation all the time. And I said, hey, as a buyer, I said, when you see the list price on a house, pretty much you're giving it the thumbs up, thumbs down, right? And they're like, oh yeah, that's the first impression. That's it. It's a go or no go right there, regardless of what the rest of the pictures say. So keep that in mind if you're a seller, especially as you start seeing some of these numbers as we look at this. Solds are up, doing really nice. They're over 1,000, completely normal. And so you might say, George, why is that? Why are we seeing these numbers? This is a seasonally normal influx. Remember, solds are always looking in the rearview mirror. And we're seeing some of those August and September closings that are happening that is going to continue to push through. And that's why some of our chart numbers look the way they do. So if you like this information and you like real and accurate information in real time, where we're not talking about what happened in July and August and actually talking about what's happening today, which is, the first week in October and September stats to give you some trend. Hey, you know what? Come on and take a look. So here we go. Talking about real-time metrics, you can see the light green, which is circled, that's our inventory. And you can see that we've been heading in a positive trend, which is, again, seasonally normal. If you look on the left-hand side of the chart, you see the same thing, same trend, just different volumes. The sold volumes are staying consistent, but the blue line, that's homes new on market. And again, if you look to the left, you can see it's that same trend. And that is super important to understand, that we're looking at seasonally normal activity. And there's nothing super crazy that's happening. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more, so that if you're looking at buying or selling, it is a good time. And for new construction, it is a great time. And we're going to talk about that as we get closer to the end of Q4, fourth quarter, the end of the year, where they have some real metrics that they have to balance up against. All right. So if we come back here, excuse me, and then we start taking a look at the top line, which is the average for sale price, and then the red line, which is the average sold price, we have that normal disparity, although they are heading in an opposite direction right now. Again, higher than we were at last year. Let's blow this up for you. Higher than we were at last year, because our year to date, we're almost 9% over year to date, or $50,000 higher on an actual sold price. Now, if we look at just the month of September, we were up 6.6%. Again, about a $50,000 difference. And when we take a look at the average list price, which it's about $1,024,000. Last year was about $1,045,000, or about 2% less. Not crazy different. We're not seeing that crazy, escalation and increase in home prices. We're seeing it start to balance out. Balance. There's that word again. Balance. Because as we roll over and we take a look at our actual volume, now this is what is super important, because then look at that. Even though we are seeing roughly a little over 3,000 homes on market more than what we saw last year, again, interest rates are also 1.3% less, which frees up some of those sellers to make a move, because now they're able to move up to a different home, even though they had better rates. Look at this. Even in September numbers pended were almost 26% higher. 26% higher on pended homes. So if we still have 3% or 3,000 more homes coming on market, the market is absorbing that. Now, don't look at this and say, oh my gosh, it's crazy. No, it's not. It's balanced. We're seeing a proportional number of homes coming on market as we're seeing them going off market. Why do we call that a balanced market, or more of a balanced market? Because we're seeing that one for one. Sure, we saw more pended homes at 1,400 over the last 7 days versus 1,100, which came on market. But we are still seeing normal numbers. And in fact, as we come back and we look at the actual days on market, that is consistent with where we were at last year. Now, if we actually then take a look at new construction, okay, and new construction is super interesting right now, because this time of year, and if you're a buyer and looking at new construction, pay attention. Now is one of the greatest times to buy new construction. Year end, every builder that is on the public trade, and even some of the smaller builders out there, they need this product off the shelf. And so they're willing to offer a lot more incentives. And if you're not working with a broker that deals with new construction all the time, okay, they're not going to know what questions to ask. So be very careful about that. Okay. Are you saying, George, should I work with a site agent? Oh, no. No, of course not. They work for the seller. Their goal is to get as few concessions as possible and a better price. Work with somebody who actually understands new construction and how to get those better values, get those incentives. And we're talking not $1,000. We're talking about like a $10,000 difference, $15,000 difference. You just need to know what to ask, how to ask it, how to leverage that. And if you don't know that, and if the limited service agent just goes out, shows you a house and says, oh yeah, you should buy this, is a great price, you're just leaving dollars on the table, unfortunately. There you go. That's my 2 cents. All right, let's get back here. So when we take a look at new construction, you can see it's pretty flat. Inventory, the light green, has gone up just a teeny weeny little bit. But look at this. When we take a look at what's going on year over year, yes, we saw that massive downturn impended. That's the red, right? And then, of course, you saw it hedging back up. A lot of that's just because of new homes that came online. So if we blow the numbers up, this is what's kind of interesting. So year over year, top chart, we're about $4,000 less than where we were at last year. Still about 4% higher as far as an actual sales price, even though our list prices are, 8%, almost 9% higher. For the month of September, year over year, 2024 over 2023, they were up almost 4% on price. Little bit less, since we predicted they would be closer to 5, little bit less than the projections. And the list prices, well, they're pretty much consistent at 2.1, but they would really rather have those higher numbers. Now, when we say higher numbers, meaning they want a better list to sales price. And with the all the new construction that is, or not new construction, all the existing homes that have come on or resales, that has taken away a lot of buyer eyeballs because they're able to get in better locations, cheaper price because they're not paying the premium. And when we say better location, because there's so much fewer land available in the core areas, especially with a lot of folks being required to go back to work, meaning in the office, not that you weren't working before, but in the office, that is a big difference. So they are wanting to come in versus going out. And we're seeing part of that shift happen. And that's why we're seeing a lot of not new construction, but existing resale coming back on. All right, let's pull this out. Okay, so when we talk about volume actually is doing pretty well. So when we take at it year to date, new construction is only off about 281 homes. It's down about 4%. It's not horrible, but they are really wanting to see on the positive side. Like last year, they did super well. When we take out just the month of September, look at that. They absolutely made up ground on new construction. For the month of September, a lot of incentives being offered, and they captured a lot of buyers. And so they made up a lot of ground where they were in absolute negative territory. Then they went to good territory. Now they're just a little bit negative. They made up some really good territory in the month of September. And even though we're seeing a lot more incentives, hey, they got to do what they got to do. When we talk about price reductions, understand builders do not want to play with price. That is the first thing you need to understand, because they need to maintain plat integrity, not only for the people who have bought, but for yourself, and to maintain, that for the entire value of the project. Okay. With that, there are things on the backside that they will incentivize you with, but only if you know the right questions to ask. So make sure you know the right question to ask. In fact, watch the video on dealing with new construction. Right. Moving on. All right. So when we take a look and we come over here and we talk to the pink elephant in the room. All right. So we had a little bit of fun with that. So again, the light green is inventory, and you see my red line there. It shows real inventory, which is actually lower. And then, of course, the blue line is new on market, and then our pendants. So I thought, you know what? A picture's worth 1,000 words. And in this one, it's worth at least, 25. And you can see that all of the green little dots or homes or arrows, what do we want to call those? Little icons, those are bank-owned homes, except for the ones with a red line through them, which those are mismarked homes for sale. So if you are watching this video and you are having a home that is for sale in one of those areas, or you know somebody in that area, you may want to have them double check with their agent and say, hey, do you have us marked as a bank-owned home, which is going to put us behind the 8 ball with other sellers? Just asking, because as you can see, there's quite a few, or in this circumstance, our numbers, again, are quite a bit lower. And if we blow up this chart, listen, there's actually only approximately 77. I stopped at 25. There's approximately 77 homes across the Northwest MLS, which is not very much. That takes our 69 number, drops it down closer to about 40%-ish, just ballparking it there. When you take a look at the chart below, year over year, again, you can see that our numbers are super low. Understand, foreclosures in our area, there's not many of them. First, most of them are down south. U.S. Bank and Lakeview have a lot of them as asset managers, and they are in lower areas. There's a few up north. I think there might only be one in Seattle. There's nothing on the east side. And then when we talk about King County, there's very few there also. So there are better options than looking at foreclosures because there's so few, and because we actually have great stats. Banks are doing paint, carpet, and vinyl, putting it back on the market and getting market value. Yeah, they hurt our numbers because they have to overprice first, and then they will bring it down many times, as we've seen many of the U.S. Bank and Lakeview assets down south really ramp up the actual market times because, well, they're just overpriced. Anyway, just saying, if you have any questions, put them down below. Love to get back to you guys. Make sure that you ring that bell so that you're alerted of these. Please like the video. It helps others see this really good information. In the meantime, you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.